Picture this: a small, isolated village on the edge of the wilderness, blanketed in snow and suspicion. The year is 1692. Welcome to Salem, Massachusetts, a community about to be torn apart by one of the most infamous episodes in American history. What started as whispers in the dark would soon ignite a firestorm of fear, paranoia, and deadly accusations. It all began in the cold kitchen of Reverend Samuel Parris. His daughter, Betty, and niece, Abigail Williams, started behaving strangely. They were screaming, throwing things, contorting their bodies into bizarre positions, and complaining of being pinched and pricked by invisible forces. The local doctor was baffled. Unable to find any physical cause, he made a fateful diagnosis. They were bewitched. Under pressure from the village magistrates, the afflicted girls began to name names. Their first three targets were Tituba, Reverend Parris's enslaved woman from the Caribbean; Sarah Good, a homeless beggar; and Sarah Osborne, an elderly woman who rarely attended church. These were outcasts, easy scapegoats for a community steeped in fear of the unknown. Tituba, perhaps under duress or seeking to save herself, confessed. She spun wild tales of a man in black, a demonic book, and flying on a broomstick. Her confession was like gasoline on a flame. It confirmed the villagers' worst fears. The devil was walking among them. The accusations began to snowball. Suddenly, it wasn't just social outcasts being named. Respected church members, wealthy landowners, and even a 4-year-old child, Dorcas Good, were accused and thrown into prison. Imagine the terror. Your neighbor, someone you'd known your entire life, could point a finger and declare you a witch. Your entire life, your reputation, your very soul would be put on trial. The evidence. Spectral evidence. This meant that if an accuser claimed your spirit, or specter, appeared to them in a dream and tormented them, that was considered proof. How could anyone possibly defend themselves against a dream? The court proceedings were a spectacle of chaos. The afflicted girls would writhe and scream in the courtroom whenever an accused person took the stand, claiming they were being tormented. One of the most compelling stories is that of Bridget Bishop, a tavern owner known for her vibrant red clothing and independent spirit. She was the first to be tried and the first to be executed. On the gallows, she maintained her innocence, a brave act in the face of mass hysteria. "I am innocent," she declared. "I know nothing of it." But her pleas fell on deaf ears. On June 10, 1692, she was hanged. Then there was Rebecca Nurse, a pious 71-year-old grandmother universally regarded as a model Christian. Dozens of her neighbors signed a petition attesting to her good character. The jury initially found her not guilty, a shocking verdict that defied the accusers. The courtroom erupted in protest. The magistrates, under immense pressure, told the jury to reconsider. They asked Rebecca about a comment she'd made, which she, being hard of hearing, didn't answer. Her silence was taken as a confession of guilt. The jury reversed its verdict. Rebecca Nurse, a woman of unimpeachable character, was hanged as a witch. Perhaps the most brutal fate was that of Giles Corey, an 81-year-old farmer. He knew that if he stood trial, he would be convicted, and his property would be seized by the state, leaving his family with nothing. So he refused to enter a plea of guilty or not guilty. The punishment for this was horrific: peine forte et dure, or pressing. He was laid in a field, a wooden board placed on his chest, and heavy stones were piled on top, one by one, to force a plea. For 2 days, Giles Corey endured this agony. His only words when asked to plead were a defiant, "More weight." He died under the crushing load, but his property passed to his sons, his final act a protest against the injustice of the court. By the fall of 1692, the public's confidence began to wane. The accusations had reached too far, even targeting the wife of the governor. Educated leaders like Increase Mather in Boston started to argue against the use of spectral evidence, calling it unreliable and unholy. The governor finally stepped in, ordering a halt to the proceedings and dissolving the special court. He established a new superior court that disallowed spectral evidence. Without it, the cases fell apart. The accused were acquitted, and those remaining in prison were eventually pardoned. In the end, over 200 people were accused. 30 were found guilty. 19 were hanged on Gallows Hill. One man was pressed to death, and several more died in the squalid conditions of the prisons. It was a dark and tragic chapter, fueled by a perfect storm of religious extremism, social tensions, and a genuine belief in the power of evil. Years later, some of the key figures involved, like Judge Samuel Sewall and one of the main accusers, Ann Putnam Jr., publicly apologized for their roles in the tragedy. The colony itself held a day of fasting and prayer to atone for what had happened. The Salem Witch Trials serve as a chilling reminder of how quickly fear can overwhelm reason, and how vital it is to uphold justice, even when we are most afraid. They remind us to question authority, to demand real evidence, and to protect the innocent from the madness of the crowd. Thank you so much for watching. The story of Salem is a powerful one, and it's a part of our history we should never forget. If you found this interesting, please hit that like button and subscribe for more deep dives into the most fascinating stories from the past. We'll see you in the next video.